GTA 6 trailer dropped this week, and if you haven't already watched it, first of all, go watch it, because this video won't make sense if you don't. And second of all, you are living under a rock. The video has already over like 100 million views, sorry, in the past couple of days, and it surpassed Mr. Beast's record. And it makes sense because GTA 5 came out in 2013, and it's been 10 years of everybody eagerly awaiting the next installment. We have a release date, 2025, but we also have quite a few like Easter eggs and fan theories that came from fans watching the trailer. So in this video, we're going to break down and talk about some of the most popular theories and talk about which ones make the most sense. And I will also give my favorite one near the end, so stick around. So for the first theory, I think this one makes a lot of sense, is that Lucia's story is actually told in reverse in the trailer. So if you watch the trailer, the first opening scene is Lucia in prison, and she's talking to some sort of counselor about how she got here because she's been in some sort of bad luck. And we don't know what that is yet, but we can kind of infer, and some of the later touch upon the possible bad luck. But anyway, then it transitioned into scenes of Vice City, so it's like the luxury apartments, the beaches, the Everglades, and like strip clubs. We saw the strip club. Crazy animation, by the way, but get that. And the next scene that we actually get of Lucy is of her hanging out of a like drop top sports car on the highway, like flailing her arms around, having the absolute time of her life, which is very, very different from the first scene that we saw her in. And then it goes to like a couple more shots of the Vice City strip and also like more clubs. And then it gets to the next scene, which is Lucia on a rooftop, like at a pool, wearing a luxury bikini, like clad out in some luxury goods, right? And then we have that compilation of the Florida Man stories, like the GTA version of all of them, of like alligator in the pool, the girl twerking on the car, and the Florida Joker. And then the next scene we get of Lucia is actually the first one we see her in with Jason. So they're actually in a car after a robbery, getting away from the cops, and that transitions into them in a motel talking about trust and how they need to have each other's back throughout this whole process if they're gonna get through it. And then the final scene, which we all know and love now, is them busting open the door of the convenience store or a grocery store and trying to rob the place. So all of this, if you think about it in reverse, it actually makes a lot of sense. So that would mean it starts out with them robbing a store. They're talking about trust. They're getting away from the cops, and they manage to get away. And then they realize they have some sort of talent for it. So they start obviously like bringing up the like level of difficulty and the scale of their heists and their missions, and then that's how they get the big money and start living the good life in Vice City. So hence the compilation of the clubs, the strip, the beach, Lucia like hanging out of the car, their new car, and on the rooftop. And then it goes all the way to the end, or I guess the beginning, where she's in prison talking to the counselor with bad luck. So we obviously don't know what that bad luck actually entails, but some theories that we'll talk about later on in this video might actually touch on it, so stick around. But I personally think this theory makes a lot of sense if you really think about it. Like the whole story progression of petty criminals to big crime to ultimately ending your story and not having a happy ending. I think that makes a lot of sense and is a pretty like chronological order of how a lot of these stories go. But I don't know, who knows if this is actually what it is, but I think this is one of the most viable theories. But it's not my favorite. We'll get to that later. So this number 2 theory is based off of the co-op game A Way Out. Obviously, spoilers ahead for people who haven't played that game yet. It's an incredible game, by the way. I totally recommend it. You can get it done in like 6 hours. But basically, A Way Out follows 2 players or 2 characters named Leo and Vincent, and they, by their own circumstances, land in jail and end up working together to try and break out of it. So it's just a lot of co-op working together, going through a bunch of different tasks and missions. And then the players are actually met with a very serious choice at the end, and it's very heartbreaking, but you have to choose to save Vincent or save Leo. And that's sort of like a very common trope when it comes to the partners in crime thing. And because we know that Lucia and Jason are a Bonnie and Clyde sort of situation, and you know, through the trailer it's shown that established their relationship and their trust in each other, it's very, very possible that this is the direction that Rockstar is actually going to go in and have the player have to pick between saving Lucia or saving Jason. So that's all dependent on obviously your play style and who you prefer, but I personally think this is honestly one of the more probable theories as well. And we already know that GTA is no stranger to some sort of betrayal or heartbreak or heartache or killing off their characters. We already know that. So I think this one is a pretty big possibility. So it's very clear that Lucia and Jason are in love and in some sort of Bonnie and Clyde situation, being like the power couple of Vice City that takes on the criminal underground. But if you know the real story to Bonnie and Clyde, you'll know that the ending is not happy, because Bonnie and Clyde ultimately end up passing away together after a heist gone wrong. So it makes sense why one of the more popular theories about the ending of GTA 6 is that they will also have a Bonnie and Clyde ending, where Lucia and Jason end up dying together and probably taking that till death do us part thing a little bit serious. There's not really like too much to say that like this will happen or won't happen. I think it totally would make sense if it did happen, but I honestly think that Rockstar might go in a direction of where the player has to pick between the two, because that'll be a little bit more exciting and dramatic. But if this ultimately ends up being the ending, I wouldn't be surprised either, because Rockstar is known to hurt our feelings, and this would definitely hurt our feelings. So I think this is honestly a pretty viable like ending as well to GTA 6, but we don't know yet. For theory number 4, this is more so based off of the official art for the game. So in the trailer, we already know that Lucia ends up in prison at some point. We see her at the opening scene talking to a counselor in jail dressed in an orange jumpsuit. But if you look at the official art for the game that has been released, if you zoom in or like at least look closely to Lucia's ankle, you'll see that she has an ankle monitor on her leg. So one of the popular fan theories is that Lucia is actually on probation, and this would have some sort of effect on the gameplay of GTA 6. So there might be like restricted areas that only Lucia like has to be in. She can't leave those areas, and if she does, there might trigger like a wanted level or police chase, etc., etc. And maybe if you switch over to Jason, you have a bit more freedom, and as the game progresses, Lucia's ability to navigate through the map might change. I think this is a very interesting theory, and I think it would have some pretty cool implications on the actual game, because being restrictive in that sort of sense, I think it really kind of makes you more immersed into the story. So I would not be opposed to this being an actual reality, but this is one of the theories I have, and I think it makes a lot of sense considering the ankle monitor on her leg. Number 5 is something that Rockstar already has a proven track record of doing, which is implementing betrayal into their games. In their latest installment, GTA 5, Michael essentially sets up Trevor and their heist buddy Brad to secure his FIB deal, and if we're bringing it back to Vice City, in the final mission, Keep Your Friends Close, Lance actually betrays Tommy. So it's only standard that a lot of Rockstar and GTA fans are assuming that betrayal will be a big part of the game. Whether it's by the main characters or the side characters, it's probably going to be in there at some point, but if we're referring to the protagonist, then it might be a situation of one of them is more loyal to money than the other person, or they're just trying to save themselves. But for the first time in the GTA history, the main characters are actually in a love story. So we know that Rockstar can literally make this so painful for us and very heartbreaking. So if this is the direction that they ultimately decide to go in, I'm honestly excited to see how it plays out and have a tissue box nearby, because I know it's going to hurt my feelings. For all the Red Dead Redemption fans out there, this theory is for you. Obviously, spoilers ahead for Red Dead Redemption 2. But a lot of fans have noted that the main male protagonist in 6, Jason, actually looks a little bit like Arthur Morgan. Arthur Morgan is the main character in Red Dead Redemption 2. So in the game, Arthur briefly mentions that he's actually a father. He and this waitress named Eliza had a son named Isaac, but then he goes on to mention that they both ultimately passed away. So Arthur says that one day he came back and there were 2 crosses planted outside of his house, and he goes to realize that robbers had ransacked his house, killed his family, and did it all for just $10. But through all of this, it's actually not fully confirmed that Isaac is actually dead. We don't get to see the body or anything like that, so it means it is possible, even if it's far-fetched, that Isaac did survive somehow, and that the crosses outside might have just been like a psychological play by the robbers or something. So some fans speculate that Jason actually may have ties to the Arthur Morgan and his family, like the Morgan family, and he may be part of the family tree just like way down the line and in modern times. So I don't know how viable this really is. My Red Dead Redemption 2 knowledge isn't too extensive, so I'm just don't shoot the messenger if this is like canonically impossible, but this is something that I did read up on that some people have been theorizing, but it may just be that people just really love Red Dead Redemption 2 and want there to be some sort of crossover. Number 7 is also a Red Dead Redemption theory, but I think it's a little far-fetched personally, but I also find it super cool and romantic and would not be opposed if it was actually true. But I told you guys a lot of people think that Arthur Morgan and Jason have some similarities, but fans have also pointed out that Lucia and Mary look a little bit similar too. So Mary is actually the main love interest for Arthur in Red Dead Redemption 2, and the two were madly in love. They even got engaged. They were in love for many years, but the engagement eventually fell through. Mary just didn't see a future with Arthur because of his criminal lifestyle. So that was pretty sad. It was kind of a bummer. But fans are now speculating that Arthur and Mary are actually reincarnated into Lucia and Jason. So, and this would be like kind of romantic and cute because that means that Mary in this lifetime or universe or timeline doesn't only support Arthur's lifestyle, but is also part of it and engaged in it and his partner in crime. And this could ultimately end up being the happily ever after that they never got in Red Dead Redemption 2. But I don't know. I think it's a little out there, but it's also I think it's pretty cute if this is actually true. So I don't know. And this last theory is my personal favorite and one that I see very, very possible as being the actual storyline of GTA 6, which is that Jason is an undercover cop. And this will make a lot more sense once I talk about it, and it can tie into some of the other theories. But in the GTA 6 trailer, after 10 years, one of the first scenes that Rockstar put out and wants us to focus on is that Lucia is in prison and she's there because of bad luck. So I feel like we all assume bad luck means like a heist gone wrong or something or a malfunction. That's not always like what that means. It's a very, very vague answer. So she could mean bad luck in her personal life, bad luck in picking a boyfriend, a love interest, picking an undercover cop to be your partner in crime. That could be what that bad luck entails. And if we fast forward to this scene in the motel, Lucia is actually the one that's leading that conversation about trust. Like she's the one that's like, we have to have each other's backs if we're gonna get through this. We need to establish this sort of loyalty. So it's very clear that she's very devoted to Jason. And all Jason says in response is trust, which we can't really kind of read too much into it because this is the first trailer and very clearly a more Lucia-centric trailer. I'm sure in the coming months there's going to be more content coming out about Jason and his side of the story, but kind of just from what we can see at a first glance from this trailer, it seems like Lucia is definitely like hardcore ride or die for Jason, and we don't necessarily get the same vibe that he's the same back. So this is why this theory makes sense to me. And if this is the story that Rockstar actually chooses to go through for GTA 6, I'm excited to see how it plays out because I feel like Jason would also have a sort of internal struggle between his developing feelings for Lucia as well as his sense of duty. So we don't really know where that's gonna go. So I'm really, really excited. And if anything, if he does have that sort of storyline and he's the one that, you know, puts Lucia in prison, he could be the one to get her out, sort of thing. So if that's what Rockstar is going with, the route that they're taking, I would not be opposed. I would honestly really love to see that happen. So what do you think? Which one of these fan theories do you think is most possible for GTA 6? Or do you think none of these are possible at all and you have one of your own? Because if you do, I would love to hear about your theories in the comments below and have a discussion with you about it and maybe make another video on it. But yeah, if you guys like this video, like game theories and video game lore, I am starting to do more of that on my channel. If you guys enjoyed this video, I would love if you gave me a subscription. I really, really appreciate it. And have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.